but we got to talk about your morning before we get into anything else.
Yeah, I mean, do you mean my morning of the 49ers?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Brock Purdy.
Your morning that the season's over.
I have thoughts on Debo. We're going to get to all that, but I have a fun hypothetical to start the show. This morning, in fact, I went to both performances because these times are so small in your life. When your kid's doing these little elementary school performances, there's an 8 a.m. and a noon performance, and I'm like, I'll go to both. Why would I not?
You're right. It goes quick. The window closes real quick, like your 49ers' chances to win.
Ouch.
Joking.
Bro.
You've been ripping me about Soto for a week.
I know. I deserve it.
Nah, I'm kidding, though. You know I root for your 49ers,
The window of my 49ers winning may have closed quicker than, those cool fleeting moments when your kid's little and they're excited to see you in the crowad. Like, there's Dad!
They're
waving
fast.
at you.
Yeah.
It goes quick.
The last opportunity to see Rich hopeful about the 49ers is on yesterday's Overpromise, so please check that out.
I did the playoff simulator.
He was really excited.
At least he didn't do a whole path for the Niners to get to the Super Bowl.
I almost did.
Kind of did, Danny.
So, we're going to get to 49ers. You guys can mock me throughout the whole show. I deserve it. But I got to ask the hypothetical question. What's worse? Sitting through a kid's performance when it's not your kid, or sitting through the rest of a sports season when your team has officially been eliminated from contention?
All right, what type of performance? Like holiday performance?
I have an exhibit.
Yeah, because it could be like a kid's game or something, right? Like,
do they go by grades, Rich?
They do.
Where they're like, and now the third graders.
And by the way, my daughter is in second grade. Just for the continuity of the story, my son is in pre-K, the TK they call it now. So they go all out of order. I wish if they were the first two, I would have been like, later. They were as far apart in this program as possible. So I had to sit through every other performance. So Exhibit A, not the guy that pimps your ride, an actual exhibit.
Exhibit A.
And this is not to mock the children. Let it be clear. But
not the children.
This is what I was just sitting through for the last hour. That was the morning I had. In between the 5 minutes my kid's class was on stage, I had to sit through hours of that. And I'm like, I don't know what's going to be worse, that or January 49ers football.
Man, and I've seen their figure paintings, and they suck.
I need some Kevin McAllister crap to happen. I was hoping Buzz would, point the candlesticks at some kid's head.
Was Buzz
create
there?
A ruckus.
Was Buzz there by any chance?
That music teacher needs a raise.
Yeah, that dude should be fired. Oh my God, yeah, that is tough, right? But there's something charming and
so
funny
cute.
and cute about it. Like it's almost heartbreaking. You see all these little kids out there having fun, even though they suck.
It's cute.
The instruments didn't even sound in tune.
I know.
Were the kids playing the instruments as well?
I know what you're thinking. You're like, are you even trying, kid?
I was saying after that, I'll spare you because I didn't record it. Then they're like, let's bring out now like the orchestra, the little kids that are learning violin. I just was trying to like be kind to you guys and spare you, but it's adorable because they're trying. No! But it's rough. So I ask you, what's worse, sitting through kid stuff when it's not your kid, or the remaining games of a schedule where your team's out? I'm talking September baseball when your team's out of the pennant race. I'm talking about December, January football when your team has officially been eliminated. What's worse?
I think it is tougher sitting through a kid's performance that's not your kid. I think it is tougher because even when I go to my nephew's football games and baseball games, it's sports related, and I'm happy to be there for support, but I do have like an expiration date. I have like a time where I'm like, all right, I'm out because I can only stay so long before I get checked out. And I'm like, all right, hey, I came to support. I'm out. So sitting through a performance is sort of ugh.
What it's like when your kid's at bat in Little League, and then you realize you have to wait a few innings of watching other kids.
Yeah, but imagine like my nephew, as much as I love him, it's not my kid, so I'm just watching a bunch of other kids I don't care about. When it's your kid, right? You're sort of invested in his classmates as well, or their classmates. And,
yeah, you know them all.
Yeah, you know them all, so you're rooting for them, and you're sitting there watching, even though it's boring. You're more into it. You're more invested. When your kid's not involved, and you don't know the other kids, you're just there for that one kid, and you see him, and you're like, hey, you wave, and you're like totally tuned out. I'll go back to what Danny G said on our show. If your team's out of it, yeah, it's tough to be as excited. This is tough. It's tough to be as excited, but you watch for the small victories, right? That's what you said, Danny.
Yeah, the youngsters, the rookies get on the field.
Someone's stats, right? There's always milestones
you see
to chase.
who's competing hard enough to hopefully make the roster next season. And then also you're fighting for draft position, let's be honest.
Yeah, there's still reasons to watch. And you just got to find those reasons.
The NFL is slightly different. When, let's say, your baseball team's out of it, it might be fun to watch your team go on a 5-game winning streak and ruin someone else's playoff hopes.
Play spoiler. Yeah, of course.
But in football, when your team isn't making the postseason, every game they win is counterproductive. Like if the Raiders win, oh no, you don't want the Raiders to win, Danny. At this stage of the game, every Niners win is a lower draft pick spot. And you got to look at where the Niners are headed. They had a lot of injuries. They could very well compete next year. So getting a high draft pick to boost up that line or do something.
It's funny because Cowherd this morning picked the Raiders as his upset of the weekend because he said, did you see how hard they played against the Chiefs? They're not going to lose at home to the Falcons. They're going to win. And I was thinking to myself, normally I would like to hear Cowherd talk like that about my favorite team. But I was in my car screaming, no, I stay at the number one spot in the draft. You want them to fight and be good enough just to lose at the very end of the game. Make it fun to watch for the fans, but still keep that same draft position.
I don't have it off the top of my head, but there have been teams that played themselves historically. Teams that have won in a meaningless week 17 or 18 game where, what did you do? You blew it.
What did you do?
Like meaningless games, and now you drop 2 spots in the draft, and all of a sudden your quarterback of your dreams is now gone.
So Rich's morning consisted of not only one miserable musical performance from his kids, it was 2. And thank you for sparing us, because Rich didn't invite us to go or anything like that. I think that's a solid move, too.
Yeah.
Even my family members, they don't necessarily invite Uncle Steve to those things, and I'm happy. I'm fine. I get the little videos. I get the little highlights. I'm like, oh, he did a great job. That's great. Playing the recorder. Great job on the recorder, Jamesy boy. So the question based on these holiday performances and all these little dance recitals that go on around this time of year, easier to sit through another kid's performance, not your own, another kid's performance, or sitting through your team when they're out of it. Your team's games when they're out of it. 877-99 on Fox, at Covino and Rich, at Fox Sports Radio.
But I'm thinking already, like next week. It's the first time in quite a number of years where the 49ers are out.
Well, that's why this is a relatable, pertinent question, because your team's pretty much, well, as they said, mathematically, they're still
like
in.
0.01.
Yeah, but there's no chance.
No, not at all.
Even the Rich Davis Sports Machine playoff simulator can't even figure that one out.
So let me ask you part 2 of this question, because if you did watch last night, the turning point of the game was a ball dropped by Debo Samuel on a slant pattern that was a clear touchdown. We've talked about this with baseball. We've talked about this with other sports. Has Debo dropped off in a way that we haven't seen in a while? Is he an off-season of training away from finding the old Debo Samuel multi-tool? Like, he could run, he could block, he could catch. Like, what? The bigger question is, what happened to Debo Samuel? He got a contract. He got that 3-year deal.
I can tell you what social media is saying happened to him, but I think you, as the everyday 49ers fan, would have a better idea than we would.
I feel like he looks...
if you're going to go by my observation and what I'm seeing,
he looks apathetic. He looks a little out of shape.
All those things. He looks like out of shape, like Juan Soto. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. Like I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here. And
like Monty right now?
Yeah, like Monty. Like Monty in this conversation.
What?
And,
No, what?
No, just kidding. Hi, Monty.
Hi.
And he looks, as the memes say, a little washed right now. But that doesn't mean he's done. Maybe he is injured, and we don't know about it. He doesn't want to complain about it. We don't know.
Someone hit me up with a meme, and it said, honey, what's the status on the dishes? And he sent his wife a picture of Debo Samuel. She's like, what? He goes, washed.
They're washed. They're washed. Debo.
I'm sorry,
style.
that's funny.
I didn't. It is.
It's funny.
But
I'm
Monty,
sorry.
let me ask you. You keep a fine eye on the NFC West. What happened to Debo Samuel?
Yeah, I think Covino's being a bit kind, and
Am I?
think so.
Wow.
I feel like he has dropped a lot of balls this season. Not
Dropping
just,
balls, apathy. Look like the apathy.
Yeah.
He looks. And I'm. Listen, we all know that Debo is always a little bit of a husky guy. That was sort of his strength. Like he was built like a mule. Like the guy was not your slender wide receiver. He was just like beefy. But now, you know when your beefy friend takes a season off and your beefy friend looks like that picture of Juan Soto you talk about?
That picture of Juan Soto's not flattering.
Like, I mean, Debo looks like he got that 3-year, $70-something million contract and has never been the same.
Never been the same.
I was answering the studio lines, Rich, but did you use the term lack of leadership?
When the Niners are down, again, I'm not in the huddle, so I can't be for sure, but I see no indication as a fan that he's the guy getting in there like Fred Warner or a team leader.
His
Trent
body
Williams.
language seems off.
Mm-hmm.
And he's only 28, by the way. I thought he was around 30.
Debo looking
And I
like
was
he's
gonna say,
38.
yeah, your physique does start to change. You start to age quickly. Well, some people, right? Not everybody, but in your 30s, you would understand, which is why I think Juan Soto lies about his age. But no, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm not. But 28 years old, man, there's no excuse for him to be playing and acting like that. Maybe it's just a matter of being content.
You know what? I'm going to be realistic.
He's got his payday.
Perhaps my 49ers don't have the, that little window you speak of where they were very clearly a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
That window may have closed, but I do think next year with a healthy Trent Williams, McCaffrey, Brendan Ayuk back, with the addition of some draft picks and moves, they'll be right back in the mix. Maybe not in the Super Bowl mix, but I think...
Why not?
I think what you've seen...
It's possible.
I think what you've seen is also a losing Brock Purdy. And he's not bad, but he's not great. And I wonder what that does for the Brock Purdy contract in the offseason. Does this look like a guy that should get $60 million? You're trying to go for the game-tying drive and you throw an ill-advised into like triple coverage pass to Jennings in the end zone?
Well, dude, it's not just him. It's like, as the story goes today, not only is there a health issue with your 49ers, there's a culture issue. And it seems like all these dudes are not getting along. I mean, you got players quitting on your team.
We're going to get to
that. You
that.
got bad body language, right? Bad leadership, as we discussed. So major culture issue, which I think is worse for your team than the player's health. I'm banking on McCaffrey getting healthy. I'm banking on Debo turning it around. But they need to get along and they need to have some sort of leadership. You can't have players quitting on the team. You see Kittle calling out his teammates, as he should.
But
hey, man, that's ridiculous.
We're going to get to quitters in a little bit.
But again, the question, easier to sit through another kid's holiday performance, or can we play that again, by the way?
Cue the horn,
it was
Sam.
so miserable.
This is not like...
So imagine, would you rather sit through this?
Or more 49ers games? Way to go, Debo.
Looking at the metrics right now, we just lost half of our audience.
Let's go to Tony.
Sounds so sad.
In Virginia. Tony, you're on the show. What happened to Debo? What happened to the 49ers? What's up, man?
Hey, the kids thing and the football team, 50-50. The kids thing, you can check out the good-looking moms, and you can still bet on your losing football team.
That is
by
true.
the way, and you can always dip out. Like I said, I
Oh,
think
that's frowned upon, though.
What, dipping out of the kids' performance?
We talked about etiquette a lot yesterday. Have you ever noticed when an adult gets up after their kid goes, everybody gives them the gas
But it's not
space?
your kid.
I know, but you're supposed to be supporting the school. So
DDG, I do it all the time.
That's why you sit in the back.
I go to my nephew and niece's events all the time. just to show face, and then I slide back out the door.
Irish goodbye.
Covino was the kid. Remember in
I'm just
college?
like,
Oh, you
kids,
stick
you ever
out like a sore thumb,
I do the
though. You're the
moonwalk.
only one who
No,
gets up
sit
and
in the back.
leaves.
Sit in the back row.
No, I
do you
do the
remember?
moonwalk. They're like, yo, he does the moonwalk real good, and then I dip out.
Do you remember the move in college where you would go sign in like attendance wise, and then you would just leave? They were the kids you would show up for a lecture. You would check in, and you'd be like, "All right, later."
I forgot about that.
You did that to show that you went to the class, but you didn't go. All right, it's rough. Let's say hi to Andy in Rhode Island. Andy, Covino and Rich. Tough to watch football when your team's out of it or showing no heart, Debo Samuel style. What's up, man?
Hey, paisano.
Oh, what's up, man?
Hey, it's really a toss up, but I will say that if you have to go to a kid's performance and listen to the violins out of tune, it sounds like nail scratches, a chalkboard. I mean, I would have to go with that. And not to mention too, are you going to sit there and clap and kiss some ass if they're really not that good?
It's so funny. I almost feel like the worse, the more clapping. Like it's people like, oh, you go, kids.
By the way, if you ever grew up with siblings too, and you had to sit through your siblings' miserable like ballet performances or whatever, that was a nightmare. I'd have to sit through all my like little sisters' dance routines. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah, if you clap too hard, you're teaching the kids dishonesty.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
stink.
It's like a participation trophy.
Keep practicing, kid.
Spot, can you imagine preteen Covino having to sit through all his little sisters' dance recitals?
Meanwhile,
This is boring.
Yeah, I wanted to be hanging with like hot chicks, and I'm there watching these little kids do ballet. I'm like, this sucks.
Please clap.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. So anyway, think about it, guys. It's a fun hypothetical based on Rich's 49ers being out of it and based on the fact that he spent his morning watching his kid's performance. But imagine watching another kid's performance.
Oh, boy.